Here we go.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Dying Thief on the OVOL show. Yeah, yo, go ahead and crucify me. I know the world, y'all never like me. They got me fighting, never to be taken slightly like away with them. The crown saying, man, don't play with them. Pulling nail in them, man, get him. I be the dying thief with the iron teeth. I said my peace. Then the Lord, He granted my release. Though I died, I was born in a different form. And after the storm, and goes the calm. So I gave up the ghost so the flesh wouldn't boast. Discipline, I see me here. Lick the nozzle, catching the cytoplasm. Then them ghosts like Casper. But I return in like manner. Hosanna, Alpha and Omega. So we stomp like Gamma. Heard the hammer when it was pierced through my skin. Destroy the flesh, but can't touch the man within.
Hey.
So today we're going to be talking about hope. And in case for those who are tuning in, you can send a message to engage with us and to let us know what you think about this topic. And also I want to welcome our special guest who we have today on OVOL TV. Eddie, you want to introduce yourself?
Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings. My name is Eddie Martinez. I'm a coordinator for a program called HOPE at Young Street Mission. HOPE is an acronym for Helping Offenders on Probation Excel. So we work with individuals that have conflict with the law situation from ages 16 to 29. And we're there to help them to navigate through the justice system. Similar to OVOL, the justice system can be a bully sometimes, you know, and you need people that's there to stand up against injustice, especially amongst the marginalized community, the Black communities, the less fortunate. So we are standing up in that gap where we now are helping those who find themselves on the other side of the law, based on poverty situation, economical situations. So we're here to help them to get back on track.
What got you interested in, the work that you do?
That's a good question. So what led me into it is my career path. My career path wasn't working with youth. I actually was on the other side of the law as a young person myself. Nothing too big, I don't have no criminal record or nothing like that. But I was arrested by police once in my life, and that's all it took for me. So I stood clear of being on the wrong side of the law. However, I grew up in a neighborhood in New York City, which was a lower economical one. So I grew up in poverty, and I seen a lot of rough things, harsh things in life. And by the grace of God, I was able to escape. I moved down south, North Carolina, and graduated high school. Years later, I became a deputy sheriff. So I was actually in law enforcement. I was actually an officer myself. I started off as a detention officer first, and it wasn't a career of choice per se, but based off the financial need that I had, literally, I had to, whatever job that was paying the most, that's what I needed. So that's how it was for me. So I ended up into law enforcement by just a need for certain financial stability. And through that, I now start to get involved in my career and working with people, working in a correctional facility at the time. I'm there for 12 hours with inmates. So as I'm there, there's stigma against people that have criminal records. You look at them a certain way. That's a society. But being there for a certain duration of time, I start to look at everybody as normal human beings. Everybody's just regular, and I was building so much great relationships, that superseded my position and my role. So it required for me to now, my role was just pretty much monitoring, keeping the place safe and keeping order, but because I'm a relational person, I'm talking to these guys and asking them their story and what's the backstory. And that piqued my interest to go further. Away from that, my father was actually in prison my childhood. So I grew up without my father in my life physically. I had got letters from prison, which was amazing, but not physical. So that is another influence to the type of person I am and the type of work that I do. So between being a child of someone who's incarcerated and then working now in a facility and then now being a law enforcement officer, like all of that is a combination to bring me to where I'm at now. So I moved to Canada in 2012, and I worked in a warehouse and regular jobs until I found this job that I currently work at, Young Street Mission. and this was it. This now I'm back working with the public in a capacity where YSM Evergreen Center for Student Involved Youth is a safe space where they will come, get food, get meal, get medical service, dental service, mental health service. So it was a beautiful spot. And me working here now, I noticed there was a void or a gap in the justice system. All of the service that we provide for these individuals was amazing, but there was no one that was dealing with the criminal part of those individual lives. Poverty and crime is hand in hand. YSM mission is to get rid of chronic poverty. But if people have criminal records, that's a problem. So we have to address the criminal element of any individual that come through our doors. So with that said, now I brought my interest to my supervisor and said, can I come up with a program, because we need to do this? And they were fascinated by it, but they were still like cautious, like, all right, slow down, like and I'm kind of excited. That's why I said the action pack, right? Action.
Yeah.
I didn't just say it like I'm saying it now. I was kind of like and excited, what I mean? Like, hey, slow down, but I appreciate the organization I work for and my supervisors at the time, because they got it, and they allowed me now to create a program. So then I came up with the program called Hope, helping offenders on probation excel. One more piece to the story was I was volunteering at the courts as a probation intake officer, and I seen all the guys and girls that come to Evergreen coming into my office. So then that's what made triggered, like, oh man, we need to work with them more on this part of their lives to help. And by the grace of God, we were able to now establish the program. And it's 4 years old now, but we have accomplished so much things. We have changed so much lives. We have reconciled families that was broken, and mothers and children, like family reconciliation. So we have done a lot. We got a few people out of jail, custody, literally, because of our testimony. They let go the handcuffs off of these individuals. So we know that there is a need, and we've been doing some great things so far.
Wow. Yeah, that's actually amazing, because even with I guess not knowing the full backstory of Hope, I thought it was something that was there, but you're the one that created it, you're the one that founded that. Like that's amazing. I would have to say. What do you think, Noah?
If I was him, I'd be so proud of myself as an individual, That's like, you found hope for other people that are considered dangerous or something, They just assume, but like, you don't really know the backstory of them and stuff. You have to understand them. And you are able to do that. So when you do that, it like helps them.
Right.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tie it with what you're saying. Action pack. That is, yeah, man. That's actually really amazing. So, one question, I think it's like a hot buzz question, is because your history with, you were yourself a sheriff, a police officer. How do you feel that might be an obstacle when the youth you work with kind of hear that, hey, I used to be an officer, and that bad stigma that that can happen? Hey, what, an officer put me in jail, he booked me, all that kind of stuff. So what's the experience like?
All right, and that's a good question. Thank you. And the response to that is you don't tell people right away. You don't tell people your fault or you don't, you let them, you build a relationship first. It wouldn't be wise, it wouldn't be wise if a person comes to looking for a job and say, oh, I robbed the bank, or like just throw out some information that's not, you know what I'm saying? It will blow all chances. So the thing about us, we judge people by past history for sure, how they look for sure. There's so many things that we have a preconceived notion about an individual. So then my approach was build a relationship first. I will not tell them, but let me make sure that we have a good solid relationship first. So I'm working with these individuals, I'm helping them, I'm changing their lives, and now we have a good connection. Now here comes the bad news to the street population. The street population don't like police, as you said. So here now I'm working with them, and then because now as I'm doing programs and we're having a little conversation, they got to know who I am, right? So after me helping them and doing all these things, now I'm like, yeah, so I was in law enforcement. What? Like law enforcement? Yeah. It kind of, it was like, and I didn't say it to one person at a time. I said it to a group. We have a thing called Real Talk, where we will sit down and we talk about real life situations. And it's a non-judgmental approach, meaning we have subject matters, but nobody's telling them what's right and wrong. We're saying what are the pros to this, what are the cons to these, and we're just throwing it out there and actually let the young ones develop an answer for themselves. So in that scenario, that setting, I was like, hey, I was a law enforcement officer, and yeah, people were kind of upset, but one guy said to me, "You're the only good one." Like, I'm the only good one. Like, and I'm like, I'll take that. I'm not going to try to defend. I'm not going to defend law enforcement at this moment. I'll take out the only good one for because I mean, if you could say that there is a good one that exists, that is amazing.
Yep.
Because we know based on the racial climates in America and recently here as well, that there's a lot of negative officers that exist. There's a lot of bad apples. So
100%.
we can't deny the fact there's a lot of innocent people lost their lives because of racial discrimination, because preconceived notions. But for me to break the ice, I had to let them know, and I told them, and they actually got over it like that. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, well, and I'm like, listen, that's why we can't judge each other, and that goes both ways. We can't judge. So an officer see you and you in your hoodie and your pants sagging, or you look certain way, they judge you. How do you feel about that? Because you're saying they don't know you, right? So then everybody needs to know each other for us to change this preconceived notion, idea. In addition, I know you have your questions, but I just want to throw this out there. In addition, one day I seen a police officer ride a bicycle in front of Evergreen. So I just ran out and stopped him. Hey, had a small talk with him. So, he's the police in the neighborhood. And I said, I would like to have a basketball game with you guys. We're street involved. He said, yeah, he knows about Evergreen. I said, yeah. So we have a street population that are not too keen about officers, and on officers not too keen about street involved youth. There's a notion on both ends. Yeah. But I would love to have a game that we could, play basketball. And I brought it to him, and he said, good idea. He's going to bring it to a sergeant, and he brought it to a sergeant. And I brought it to the youth. The youth were happy because they said they're ready to slam dunk on these guys.
Yeah.
They're ready to ball on them. So they was like, yes. You understand what I'm saying? But here's the thing. The sergeant said to me that if they don't play on teams, they're not going to have the game. So I wasn't even thinking about playing on teams. I was like, oh, man. But this game must take place. So I just said, you know what? And I went back to the guys and said, we got to play on the same teams. They're like, no, I'm not playing with the boy them. That's the slang. The boy them. And I'm like, oh, and I'm looking like, how can I work this out? Because it got to happen. So I said, okay, only those who want to play will play. So I told my son, like, hey, son, I need you to come and play. And he came, I told my supervisor, he played basketball. I don't know if you know Jesse before he left.
Yeah.
Asian guy, boy, he could ball. And he was like, I'm good. And he was happy too. So I fell in the gap for some of the youth that didn't want to play. But this event was so huge. Like, we shut down our Evergreen. Everybody left to the gym area on Girard. We went to that other YSM location, and everybody came. So, when the game was about to start, these youth that said they weren't playing, saying, can I get a shirt? Because I gave out Hope shirts. And they was like, oh, Kitty, you got a shirt for me? I said, you said you weren't playing. It's like, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm like, you want to play on the teams of the officers? And they're like, yeah, I'll play. So it was so hype. We had food. It was so hype. And we have performance, special gift performance. So guess what happened? Now I'm taking back shirts from my supervisor. Like, yo, I'm sorry. They're here now. Because it's for them. So now I give back the shirts. My son still got to play. I wasn't going to take back a shirt from him. But everybody else, they gave back their shirts. And officers and youth are playing on the same team. This was so amazing because what happens is now, because they're on the same team, they have to work together. So now when one of the street youth make the shot, he's high-fiving the officer. When the officer do a layup, they high-fiving each other. And I'm kind of hyper, right? I'm energetic and I'm lively. So when only thing to differentiate when anybody like the Hope member make a shot, we'll have a song. I have a theme song called Hope. So it'll be like Hope, Hope, Hope when they make it. But then when the officer make a shot, it was like, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. An old time hip-hop song. Anytime an officer make that shot, it was whoop, whoop. So it was so fun. And these guys were smiling. I'm in my story, but here it happened. I have a Hope banner. There's a Hope banner. You may not be able to see it, but you see this little photo right here, just a little glimpse. I have a big banner, and it was up there. And one of the officers came to me after the game. He was like, that's Alpha. I said, yeah. He said, I arrested him the other day. Can you tell him I'm sorry? An
Mm.
officer told me to tell a youth that he's sorry. And I was so amazed by that. I'm like, what you mean? You arrested him, you were doing your job. He's like, no, I didn't have to arrest him, but he ran. And he said, I want you to just explain to him why I arrested him. And I said, oh my God, this is what's the purpose of the game. Because if we had we not played the game, there would be no apologies. But
Yeah.
because they were seeing each other as normal human beings, it broke that. You understand what I'm saying? And some of these street guys said, anytime you have in this game, make sure you invite me. I said, I will. You understand what I'm saying? So, and this is before COVID strike, but it was so good. We're 2 years successful, but then COVID was the third year of it, right? Now we're in the fourth year. So hopefully we get back to it. But the point of all of this is not an officer situation. And the good thing about it, when I was trying to convince them, I was saying I was an officer. So now I can say it a little bit more now because now they know me. I'm like, yeah, I was an officer. So come on, you like me, right? Am I not? Like, so is it to break down these stigma, these preconceived ideas that we have? We have to work on it. It's not saying that everybody in the streets are good people. No, some people are doing violent crime that need to be accountable. And not to say all police are just friendly guys doing their job. No, they have racial discrimination, prejudices, and that bully that OVOL addresses is there in our population too. You understand what I'm saying? Some of the officers were bullies. You know what I mean? Some of the laws and the racial stereotypes in the justice systemic oppression is bullying.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm glad to be on this platform, even though it's a different kind. I just want to make sure that we can see there is a connection. Thank you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's something super important because even with bullying, people can relate. Oh, it's only for youth. You know, it's young kids. They don't know better, so they're gonna bully. But man, adults bully too. Right? That's how they control things, make things happen that they want. Yeah, I think it's a really good point that with that tying of bullying and even in the justice system, all that stuff, it happens everywhere, and it's important to speak about it because we gotta shine a spotlight on that these kind of behaviors, that unwanted behaviors that negatively impact everyone around.
Imagine this. Let me throw something there. Imagine now one of the youth that I'm working with committed a crime, but it was through bullying. He didn't want to do the crime, but the peer pressure of the people around him, and they're calling him names, he ended up getting a criminal charge. Does he fit in the same category as the rest of them that's facing these criminal charges? No, he does not. But do we know that? We don't. We just see a person and we know that he committed a crime, but we don't know the backstory.
Yeah.
So guess what happened? There is a lot going on and we don't know. We're just looking at everybody as criminals, but a lot of the criminals are actually being bullied and commit crimes.
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to break it down, and that's why I appreciate these platforms to kind of bring a little broader perspective. If we don't talk about it, we don't know.
That's
we don't,
true.
Our thoughts
even like when you like I know it's like a little bit off topic, but like when you read history books and stuff, I don't believe every single word it says and stuff, because like you weren't there, right? Like how could you know possibly? Maybe the winner wrote it. The winner of the war, he's saying, oh, he's the good guy. How about the loser's perspective? You have to understand both sides.
Right, and that's a good point. That's why we want to dig in our history a little more, and we want to fact check as much as we can. But that's a good perspective. I appreciate that, Noah.
Yeah, 100%. What's your next question, Noah?
Okay. So like, what keeps you motivated to do like this amazing work that you do?
Good, another good question. I love your questions, man. Took some time and thought into it. What motivates me? What motivates me is when I see what touches me the most. I want to say touches me the most is when I'm like the parents.
Yeah.
A lot of this go on, and we don't know the pain and the heartache a parent got to go through for their child. And sometimes the parent feel like it's hopeless. That's why the word hope is just so powerful. A parent have his son or daughter in the justice system, and there's no help. They don't really know what's going on. The lawyers just do their job, and that's it. There's no real connection. So they're kind of just like, oh my God, what's going to become of my child? So when we pick up the phone and we call that parent, we break down the program. We show them how involved we get, and I just did a recent video intake, virtual intake with a client and his mother, and I asked the mother, "Do you have any questions?" She said, "No, but I just want to say I'm so amazed and I'm so happy. I thought this interview was going to be like this, but it was so just nice, and my son is smiling right now. And she was just so amazed, and that's what made me I got to go more. You understand? Because sometimes a youth, a person that's going through their life, sometimes they're in a place mentally that they don't really care, and sometimes they give up. But there's people that love them. You understand what I'm saying? If we could restore hope in that person, and then it goes back to the child, like just to watch that happen, that just keep me going. You understand? That makes me want to go harder. I want to just, and that's why I said my situation like an action movie. But it'll be like a superhero action movie, like a Captain Canada. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's amazing, and that's it. It's not the pay. It's not my job, not my salary. None of those things. It's just to see the mother, see the hope restored in people and youth as well. But the mother, if the mother's the parents, it is a strong influence on me, because it's like, wow, this lady thought her son was gone, and now she get to see a little light and she have hope. Wow, you know. So yeah, the parents.
Yeah, no,
that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
That's beautiful, because I think even, you know, it relates for those that, you know, we've had a caregiver. So, you know, some fortunately might not have a mother, but I think it's definitely something you can draw upon, seeing that hopelessness is gone. And you know, we've all experienced it. You know, some days, you know, sometimes we can feel hopeless, and just a small act, or just knowing somebody is there, a support system, it really does give you that hope, encouragement, re-energizes you, and allows you to look at a future that you thought was not there, a possibility, right? So yeah, that's I love this, man. I'm so glad to have you on board, because even something that with my work, and working with Noah, I am helping him build his capacity for him to be a leader in his community. So a follow-up question with that, that kind of relates, is, let's say somebody like Noah, or somebody that is watching and will watch this video. Let's say they have a friend that, you know, is headed down the wrong way. What's some wisdom, a wisdom that you'd say for that friend? How can they help somebody, you know, kind of going down the wrong road, or you know, more of that preventative work?
Right. So if that person is your friend, that means you know them to a certain degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to just say, hey, man, you need to go in this program or do this, because you know if they're going to say, nah, man, or resist. So some people probably would just listen to advice, because they, you know, that's how close they are. But some people, you have to be more strategic with the way, as you said, wisdom on how you direct them. So it won't be so intrusive. Is more smoother. So give you an example. When I do presentations at probation offices, I don't just say, hey, tell them about the program. A person, I mean, even if the program is the best program exists, they don't, just hearing as a program is already a turn off. Like, nobody cares about a program. Oh, I got a program for you. Nah. I said don't tell them about the program. Tell them at Evergreen they do free haircuts. Tell them that, you know, like, tell them the good stuff that we have. You know what I mean? And then let them get into once they get into our space, we'll get the rest. You let me know, of course, who the person is.
Yeah.
And so I know Johnny's coming, but you didn't tell Johnny about the program. You can, but you don't have to. You could say, hey, there's free haircuts. You need a haircut. You get there's music class. You need studio. You're like, tell them all the good stuff, because that's luring, right? And now they come, they're sitting in the barber chair, and I'm cutting their hair. And I already know who the person is, because I'm expecting them. You know what I mean? So, okay, that's Johnny or whatever. So I could just go into, like, when they sit in that chair, their mouths start to open, and they, you know, everything. A lot of information come out. It's therapeutic. It's like a for us when we get haircuts and stuff like that. We kind of like comfortable. We're relaxed. You're getting groomed up, a fresh lineup or whatever, and you just talk about life. We just small talk. And then I could now get more into their life. So me saying that, the point is, what I'm saying is, when you want to help somebody, you don't probably, depending on your friend and your relationship, but you don't want to kind of make it seem like, hey, you got to be smart. So you got to say, oh man, you know what? You should do this, and make it more not direct, unless you just have that solid relationship and you could just say, hey man, you need to get a job, you need to get your life together. You know what I mean? Like if you
Mhm.
have that. In most cases, a lot of people get defensive when you're telling them what to do with their life. So you have to be suggestive in a more way of wisdom and find another way around it of how to tell them, that the shirt don't look good. You're not gonna say, yo, your shirt look ugly. You know what I mean, man? You gotta be saying like the weather, man, it's kind of hot, brother. You gotta.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Don't let them catch on to you, though. What you trying to say? My shirt is ugly. Like you gotta be smart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you and your relationship, you know how to do that. You understand what I'm saying? So you have that answer, but it's just about thinking on how you're gonna tell somebody something that's not really good news or something that they need to do with their life. But you want them to be inspired. So you just have to find a way. How can I inspire someone? So for us, our program is not to tell people to don't do this and that. We're trying to inspire them to change. And that's our approach. And that's why it works, because we're making it motivational. And then
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I get what you mean. Cause like when say for example, there's like a rude teacher and there's a student that's not like incredible at school, for example, say they're just like disrespectful because they did something bad or on the test. They could like shut them down. You know what I mean? Like, oh, why you do that? Whatever. Like, Then after that student could feel like sad in a way. It doesn't motivate them. It like decreases it in a way. So like we have to understand how other people want to be approached. That's the thing. You always have to like understand someone before you do something. Like you have to understand where they're coming from. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, because what happened is this: what happened? Bullies were bullied. Think about that for a second. You understand what I'm saying? So then that means there's a need for that individual. Though we're looking at them as, man, there's just an evil guy in there to bully, but hurt people. So somebody hurt them and put them in that where they say, nobody's going to hurt me again. I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to take control of that. So bullies bully people, or word bully. So guess what happened? With that said, that means there's a need for that individual. So if you mention that kid in the classroom, the child, the youth that's probably disruptive and he's acting all weird, and like, why he's not acting like everybody else? There's something wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So now a teacher who loves their job, instead of saying they're going to just discipline people, this is a system, just throw them in jail, we're going to say, what's wrong with that individual? How can I help? Because I'm concerned. I'm more concerned of what caused him to act like this than him acting like it. He's acting like it, but what caused it? So how can I approach that? And I'm gonna give you a little confession of my younger days. My school was a bad school, and we followed kids. I followed people at the time before I found who I was. So when we give trouble for these teachers, we made a lot of teachers quit because we weren't listening. We were throwing paper balls in the class, and they crying, and teachers cried, and we was bad, but everybody was responsible, A bully probably started it, and everybody just took it off. But guess what happened? But here's the thing: one of my teachers, and I'm just piggybacking off of what you said, Noah. One of my teachers was from England. This man got our attention. He's like, "Listen up, guys." That accent. This is New York City, so he threw us off completely. He's like, "Listen up, like." He's like mate and calling us mate and stuff. It was like, what? Like, what's this guy talking about? Like, so he had this strong English accent. He said, I know how it is, man. I'm from the hood, and like from England. Back in England, we used to build like this. And he started to tell us his England story, and he made us listen, and we never gave trouble. He kept his job, but he was a teacher that was willing to take that extra step. You know what I mean? Other people, it's just a fight. And this is the justice system. This is street involved people in the law. We're just fighting. We're not trying to understand. But this guy was trying to say, listen, guys, I know where y'all coming from. I know, listen, I've been there. And his accent was one of the, I think it was 50% of his accent. And the other 50% what he's saying. You know what I mean? But he got our attention, and he told us his story. No teacher told us their story. We don't think teachers ever struggled. We don't think teachers are from the hood. We just think everybody got a perfect life outside of, you understand what I'm saying? And that's all about as well. But when he chose to tell us, listen, man, I'm from the hood, man. Back home we used to blah, blah, and going in and like, I'm like, whoa, for real? Like, never thought of it. And we appreciate him taking that extra effort. So that's what I'm glad you said that, because we have to take that extra effort if we want to reach people. It's not just a regular approach. We have to be now creative. We have to be wise. We have to be strategic.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that's such an important thing. We've had other special guests, and they've kind of touched upon those things. One of them is that relationship. We have to show them, hey, we're regular people too, because what you said is so true. Teachers, people in authority figures, you know, we see them as these, they're not normal people, they have everything together, but man, just as human beings, you know, we're trying to figure things out. And the most important thing is, how can we figure things out together? That's the most important piece, right?
Yes.
And another one we had on, he's a barber, and he said exactly what you said earlier was, once somebody sits on that chair, you open your soul up, man. You know,
Yes.
you explain it's therapeutic. It's amazing. And as the person, you know, as the barber, you've been the barber. People tell you stuff, and then you listen. Your role is to listen, to understand, and you know, just let the person speak, because that's what we need sometimes. You know, just somebody to listen.
Yes. See, if we could humanize everybody, like you could see the human side. When I was reluctant to get into any type of law enforcement because of my experience as a youth running. You know what I mean? I didn't do crime, but I'm running from police. Like I got experience. Then the one little arrest that I got when I was younger, I had a bad taste of officers, right? But I became a detention officer because I needed money and I needed whatever job that would hire me. So I went through it, and then I just moved up the career ladder. But when I became a officer, my supervisor, we in the patrol car, and this guy's playing Biggie Smalls. He's older than me. You understand what I'm saying? So this guy's playing Biggie Smalls, and I was just so amazed. Like, oh shoot, this guy's cool. Like, even I'm an officer, but I'm like a rookie getting into this stuff. So I'm still got street mentality. I still got certain walls up. So I'm still learning this thing. Like, yo, what are you doing here, and why are you doing this? And you know what I mean? Those type of doubts and stuff. But I mean, this guy was blasting. We were like doing patrol, and this guy blasted Biggie. I was like, whoa, like, yo, what is this? Like, so guess what happened? It just opened up my eyes. I said, man, not everybody's the same. Some people are just down to earth and cool and just want to do their job. You know what I'm saying? As a detention officer, I had to tell some of them guys that they gave me a hard time. I'm like, listen, bro, I got a family like you. I'm just trying to take care of them. I'm not trying to be an oppressor to you, brother. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, to the teacher got to explain himself. So when I was a detention officer, I explained myself. So when I go in, they look through their little the door in the jail, and they be like, Martinez. They call me by my last name, Martinez. Blah! Like when I go in the dorm, it was like they celebrated, and it was so amazing because when I first started off, it was no way like that. It was so hard, but I was able to build relationships, and that's what you said, Chris. You know, going back to that, our key, that's our weapon. I'm not sure if it's secret no more, but I would say it's a secret weapon. But it's a weapon. That's what we use, and even if people know what about it, it's
a powerful one.
Can't stop that when we build relationship. And that's the freedom we have, and that's how we are able to get such a foot ahead with the population we serve, because we love each other. Like that's it. I mean, you don't go to school and love your teacher. Your teacher say, "I love you, my student." Nah, man, that's kind of weird and blur lines and all that stuff. But in our population, yo, bro, I love you, and I really mean it. That's weird. Nobody, and how you gonna respond to that? I mean, you can't be too gangster with that. You know what I mean? Like you love your mama, don't you? Like, yeah, I love my mama. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When you approach with the love, it throws people off, and it drops all of that hardness. It drops the guard, and they're now like, man, you care for me. Some of the guys say, yo, Eddie, only reason I'm doing this is because of you. And I'm like, okay, do it for me then. Like, even though it's for them, because you know what I mean. But if that's your logic and you're doing it for me, well, do it. Please do it for me. You know what I'm saying? Because in reality, they're doing it for themselves, right? So yeah.
No, that's good. Noah, ask the next question, because I think, you know, we can be sitting here talking for so long. A lot of good stuff that you're doing, but you know, it's also respectful of your time, our viewers' time, airtime. Well, we're not paying for air, but you know what I mean. Go ahead, Noah.
We get it.
We wanted to know about your music.
Ah, wow. Okay, that's it? That's the question?
Yeah. Tell us about your music.
All right, so guess what happened? As a youth, I was an artist. I used to rap back in the days in New York. I grew up in a neighborhood where 50 Cent is from, Onyx from Lost Boys, Nicki Minaj, they're all from my neighborhood. So that's the 90s era, and some of them are still relevant today in the music career. I grew up in music, so my sister's a reggae artist. She sung a song with Sean Paul, I'm Still in Love with You, famous big hit. If you ever watch that video, that's my sister, Eddie's sister. So I grew up in music. That's all I was about, music. But I kind of drowned myself in music, meaning I wasn't thinking about what I'm doing what I'm gonna do after high school or nothing. I was just like career, that's it. So when I graduated high school, I wasn't going to university like everybody else. So I kind of was like felt ashamed, like, man, you just wasted your hip hop life. You just want to be a hip hop artist. And this is it was good for me because now I could tell it to the same youth that are around here. Like, you better get a backup plan and have other things around. So my music now, but I stopped doing music. There's no need for me to rap bars no more. Like in any part of my life, there was no relevancy for bars. But when I came to Evergreen, I seen the relevancy for bars. These youth are rapping, and the coworker that I work with, Jason, he makes beats. So he playing some beats one day, and these youth are rapping.
Yeah.
And I am old school, and some of my rap judgment is biased because I'm coming up from a lyrical era where you got lyrics and you're saying something. So I was like, garbage. You know what I'm saying? And these dudes like, what? Like, yo, what you got? Like, yo, so then guess what happened? This guy started to rap battle me. He started to throw some bars at me, you know what I mean? So he didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't judge a book by a cover, right? So he don't know I got bars. So he just throwing his bars and everybody, yo. And then I just went back. Boop, 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 boop. The whole place went on fire. And at that moment, I was like, Jason, music. That's how we're gonna connect with the young people. They love it. Look at this. And then people start rating me now. Like, you know what I mean? Yo, I rate you, man. I rate you. And then like, yo, dog, you're good. And it was a brilliant thing. So for you, young man, you're asking me what about my music. So now I went back in music full fledged. Because now guess what happened? I know that it connects with people. You know what I'm saying? And in my music, because I'm conscious and I'm aware, I know who I am, I'm not gonna say nothing outside of that. So and I believe I'm lyrical. So my challenge was now to be hot and say something important. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that is now a challenge, because everybody, if you're saying something hot is not really important, it's more destructive. You know, if you're doing something bad, you're calling people certain names, and it's just like all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But then my challenge was like, man, say something important, but you got to be hot with it. And I challenge myself. You know, if you go to my site on Instagram, IG at The Dying Thief, that's my name, my rap name, I challenge myself to be lyrical and entertaining at the same way. You know, my background is Caribbean. You know, last name Spanish, Martinez. I'm Caribbean Spanish. That's my background. So my mother, my sister, my brother, all Jamaican, born in Jamaica. I'm born in America, but I still hold to my roots. So I do reggae as well, but I know the hip hop is what sits with the community that I serve mostly, you know what I mean? So on my side, you'll see me doing some reggae, you know, vibe, you know what I mean? But you'll see me rapping as well. And I'm just talking about the justice system, you know, the oppression. I'm talking about not killing each other. I'm talking about, you know what I mean? I'm really talking some positive stuff, but it's very creative, very creative. So I'm an artist as well. For those who are watching, I Instagram at The Dying Thief. The Dying Thief is a character from the Bible who was beside Christ. You know, I know different relief background, but this is what stemmed me. It was a positive information that can help people. This person was being crucified on the cross, and he was a thief. And he said to Christ, I deserve it, but you don't. And he said, remember me. And Christ said, you'll be in paradise with me. So his hope was restored, you know? So I'm about hope, and I'm about restoring hope, and I'm about second chance. So what other name than Dying Thief? You know what I mean? The thief part kind of make me a little street. So it kind of, people listen, oh, the thief. What is it about? But when they hear me, they're like, oh, but it's dope though. You understand what I'm saying? So strategic. That's how to go back to your question, Noah. Like, how do you tell your friend? You know what I'm saying? So you got to be strategic. So people hear the word thief, it's like, oh, man's a gangster or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's the dying thief, a man who got second chance to change his life around. That's what my music is, to inspire changing your life around. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Hey, I love it.
I grew up in New York City beside a young lady named Nicki Minaj. She was my neighbor. So a big old celebrity.
Queens? You're from Queens?
Yes, I am. So I grew up with a celebrity big star, Nicki Minaj. That's my neighbor. I talked to her family. We're talking right now. Her brother's in prison, unfortunately, and I'm there for him as well in New York. But her brother was being bullied in New York in elementary school. And I stood up for him. I told the bully, he don't want to fight you, but I'll fight you. You know, at that time, I thought I was a tough guy. You know what I mean? But so he was like, I defended him, and then we went home together. Found out he lived on my same block, so we live on the same block. His mother came to see who her son's outside playing with now, because now he's outside every day. You know what I mean? And this is so important because even to this day, before he was incarcerated, I seen him and he was like, listen, yo, I thank you for standing up for me. I'm like, what? That's so long ago, you know? I was like, over 20 years. I'm not gonna add no more because I don't want to throw it out like, yo, this man's super old. No, but yo, this guy was like, yo, thank you. And I'm just like, wow, you don't know how far it is when you stand up for people. You understand what I'm saying? It goes so far. And the funny thing is, now I found out his sister's a celebrity. Like, I grew up with her not before the hip hop, before all the fame, and was regular people. Like, you never know who you help. Like, go and do good to people. You never know when it will come back to you. Blessings, all right. Thank you.